Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor goes to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles. Peace, love, and salutations to the Bayaf Dawadada House of David. I'm the brother Zion out of GMS Boston, once again here on my channel. And Lord willing, this is edifying. So I wanted to go into this article. Slovakia. I wanted to go into this article that I read on RT News. The title reads, Brazilian come from the jungle. Argentine president forced to apologize after racist quote causes uproar. All right, and so you see the Argentinian president Alberto Fernandez fist pumps Spain's prime minister Pedro Sanchez. All right, at the president palace. And this was just this year. Okay, so now whether this character Alberto Fernandez, whether he's a Edomite or whether he's an Israelite, the reason why he could make these comments and the reason why he could make these comments is because of the mind frame and the philosophies that the majority of the Northern Kingdom has. All right, self-hatred is something that runs through the Northern Kingdom. All right, and it runs through the Southern Kingdom as well, but it's heavy as hell in the Northern Kingdom. Colorism, racism, self-hatred. You know, the darker you are, the worse you are. And not just that, but it's cohesive. It goes hand in hand with the Northern Kingdom running to the oppressor, running to Esau, Edom, you know, running to the Assyrians, running to the Romans, right, the Egyptians, which those are just symbolic of the people that's in power. All right, so let's get into this article a little bit. I'll read this precept, and I'll read these precepts. Speak on it a little bit, and I'll close it out. This won't be long at all. So it says, Argentine President Alberto Fernandez made a swift about face after stating that Brazilians descended from the jungle, while claiming his own country was founded by European colonists, triggered by instant backlash. See, and the reason why you can make a statement like this is because, you know, real quick, it's just as fast as I read this, man. Let's get into the scriptures, right? It says, when I would have healed Israel, and the iniquity of Ephraim was discovered. The iniquity of Ephraim was discovered in the wickedness of Samaria, for they commit falsehood, and the thief cometh in, and the truth of robbers spoils without. And they consider not in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doing have the best as beset them about. They are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. And they make kings glad with their wickedness, you know, because they love to kiss the so-called white man's ass, man. You know, they love to kiss the so-called white man's ass. And again, if this Alberto Fernandez is a Edomite, the reason why he's able to say this is because, you know, he knows his constituents, the people he represents, feel this way. Why? Because they love to kiss the so-called white man's ass. They get a little light skin, and they really think in their minds that they are white. And they'll push Esau's agenda all day long, right? They're all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who calls from the rising after he have kneaded the dough until it be leavened. And the day of our king the prince have made him sick with bottles of wine. He stretched out his hands with scores. The scriptures say they drink from sun up to sundown, but also they've drunk in the philosophies of Cesare Borgia, their brothers, being their adversaries, in the Dominican school curriculum. The brother was telling us about how basically, they was taught that the Haitians were the adversaries, they were the enemies, they were the foes. And that's your brother. But that's going into the curses. Your brothers is who you should love. They're not your enemy. The so-called white man, the Spanish conquistadors, those are your enemies, man. Those are your slave masters. Those are your oppressors. Alright? The Haitians was coming in the spirit of liberation. Our revolutionary spirit. Right? Verse, I'm going to jump down to 7. It says, they are all hot as an oven. They have devoured their judges. All their kings is fallen. There is no more amongst them that calleth me. Right? And you tell them that Jesus Christ is a so-called black man. The first thing they say is, not my Jesus, not my God, not my Jesus, not my beautiful Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes. Alright? Again, colorism is heavy in the northern kingdom. That's why the scripture says, verse 8, Ephraim hath mixed himself amongst the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Cake not turned. So they may be light, but on the inside, we know that they're Israelites, regardless of the color. Strangers have devoured his strength, he knoweth not. And yea, gray hairs are here and they are upon him, he knoweth not. So verse 10, and the pride of Israel testifieth to his face, and they do not return to the Lord their power, nor seek him at all. And we go out on the highways and byways, and they kind of look at us with disdain and hatred. Right? So it says, Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt. They go into Assyria. Alright, so now here you have this guy, right? Alberto Fernandez. What is he doing? He's calling into Egypt. He's calling to the so-called white man. He's pandering to the so-called white man for his constituents, to the point he'll make comments like this. Alright, so we'll go into this again. Alright, the article, right? Latin American leader made a controversial remark while meeting with his Spanish counterpart. They say Spanish counterpart as if Spain gives a fuck about Argentina. They may use Argentina for certain resources and whatever goods they could get out of it, but they don't really care about Argentina. The Spanish don't really care about anybody, and their history proves it, and they're gonna pay for what they did, colonizing and abusing the whole world. The kids are gonna have to pay for what their fathers did, thus save the scriptures. Right? So it says, the Latin America made a very controversial remark while meeting with the Spanish counterpart, Spanish conquistador, on Wednesday, seeking to distinguish Argentina from its neighbors by citing its historical ties to Europe. Yeah, we're not like these niggas. In other words, help us out, please, and do better by us, because we're not like these other niggers, right? I'm a Europeanist. So he's saying he's a pro-Europeanist. He's a pro-Assyrian. I am someone who believes in Europe, Alberto Fernandez said during the meeting in Buenos Aires, going on to cite what he claimed were the words from Mexican poet Octavio Paz. Mexicans came from the Indians, Brazilians from the jungle, but we Argentinians came from boats, and they were boats that came from there, from Europe, And this is how we built our society. After reading the statement by left-wing Argentinian President Fernandez about Brazilians coming from the jungle and Argentinians by boats from Europe, I came to understand better why after World War II, Nazi war criminals hid in Argentina. The Brazilian senators tweeted. Yes, that's a good tweet indeed, because after World War II, you had a bunch of rejects that tried to flee, or they really did flee into South America. And that's what Esau does, because he's a vagabond. He's a vagabond. Brazilian's conservative president, Jair Burris, who is frequently sparred, conservative president Jair Bolsonaro has frequently sparred with Fernandez, took a more lighthearted approach, tweeting a photo of himself in the group of indigenous people, captioning the images with jungle alongside a Brazilian flag emoji. Bolsonaro's son, Edward, appeared to take a more umbrage, asking whether the remarks was racist against indigenous people and Africans who form Brazil, while declaring that Argentina is a sinking ship, mocking Fernandez's references to boats. A mere hours after triggering the uproar, Fernandez took to Twitter to apologize, saying he didn't intend to make anyone feel offended or invisible while celebrating Argentina's diversity. And that's typical. And that's typical, of a damn devil, whatever. The Lord was talking to his own people when he said, yeah, your father the devil, and the lust of your father you would do. Meaning the lust of Esau, the lust of Satan, the lust of the snake that was in the garden. You'll do the lust of the beast, It was stated more than once that Argentinians descend from ships. In the first half of the 20th century, we received more than 5 million immigrants who live within our native people. Our diversity is a pride, he said. It says watch vehicle carrying Argentina's president attacked by angry protesters. This is showing his colors. That poison is being rejected. That poison is being rejected. Hosea chapter 9, verse 13. Start at 11. As for Ephraim, thy glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth, and from thy womb, and from the conception. Though they bring their children up, yet will I bereave them, and there they shall not be men left. Yea, woe also is them that departed from them. Ephraim, as I saw, Tyrus was planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to murderer. And really, it's going into all the kingdoms, man. It's talking about Ephraim, but Ephraim's the head. Just bringing in children to the murderer. When you try to kiss Spain's ass and bring your nation closer to Spain, you're gonna get your issue. And it's not just kids coming up here to America, but just in general. So with that, man, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, double honor to the elders, peace, love, and salutations to the B'yaf Dawadah. Shalom.